So, hey YouTube, it's Shayla. As you can see, I just finished watching Pretty Little Liars. Um, all I can see is damn, what the hell, during this whole episode. Um, it starts off with the episode summary, as Spencer dropping the bomb on Jason and Emily and Spencer talking and the whole Hannah and Caleb thing. So, it starts off with the girl's talking about Spencer and how she skipped school, but she was at the school, she just wasn't in class. Anyway, I was in class, and she was talking to Andrew about the whole Decathlon thing, and how she's basically been kicked off, and she went to Mona saying, is there anything else you want to take away from me? I'm sorry, I would have slapped Mona right then and there, but that's not me in that situation. Emily goes talk to Spencer about how Mona couldn't do that, and she's only been on the team for 15 minutes and all this other stuff. And Spencer doesn't want to talk about it, and she basically doesn't want to talk about it. She walks away. The girls look at her. She puts on before the girls look at her, she puts on sunglasses, and it says, "If you read about T." Yeah, if you read about T, I'll take down one of your three. And then she looks at the girls look at her, she walks away. The girls basically know that she is basically broken down, and that Hannah's basically saying that she needs to work through it. Emily's stupid sister to talk to her, and all that other stuff. They're at Emily's job with the broom, and Arya's talking to Hannah about the whole team thing, and Arya looks at Hannah's phone and looking for the stable where Caleb's father, uncle, works, and basically they talk, and Arya's like, just leave it alone. She's persistent to work with it and all this other stuff. Arya gets a call from Ezra's mom, basically looking for Wes, but even though Ezra's mom already knows where Wes is, why call Arya? Emily spots out Cece at the brew, tries to talk to her about Officer Wilden, Allie, and that whole boat thing, and Cece knows who Wilden is, but tries to make it seem like she doesn't know who he is and doesn't want to talk about it, and that she's busy and all this other stuff. Spence was making something. Andrew comes by. They talk about the whole thing, and she was like, basically, she was like, you want to practice? We'll practice, and you have to promise to take back your vote. Then she changed it up. She was like, okay, you can't take back your vote. We'll practice, and if I get things wrong, I'll strip. If you get things wrong, you have to strip. That goes on for a while. Then I think it goes to. Does it go to the next here? Okay, so finish talking about Andrew and Spence strip quiz. They talk and okay, so it does pans over to Hannah. Hannah's at the stable talking to Caleb's uncle, aka his father, about the whole thing, and then Jamie's basically saying that he doesn't want to disappoint nobody anymore, and that maybe Caleb's not ready for this, and Hannah was like, he is, trying to convince him. So I guess they set up a meetup date for all of them to meet up. It pans back over to Spence and Andrew doing the strip quiz. Andrew was losing horribly. I mean horribly. And as usual, Emily shows up at the wrong time for stuff. Don't know why. Let's see. It's like as soon as Spence takes off her bra, Emily shows up. Andrew gets all shy and stuff. And and he leaves. Spence Spence and Emily talk. Emily is basically getting on her was like, you don't have to act dumb or get naked to get what you want. That's not who you are. And that everybody has pain. You're not the only one that has pain. You're not the only one that's going through it. Whatever. And she wanted to know what's going on with Toby. And Emily's saying, don't speak to Toby. We're not friends with Toby. And she can't explain why they're not friends, but she wants to. So Spencer's basically telling Emily. Spencer's basically telling Emily, "This is the new me. You basically need to deal with it. That's it. That's how we gonna deal with it." She walks away. Emily leaves. I know they pan over to Wes and Arya in Ezra's apartment. Wes is trying to pack up and leave because Wes and Ezra's mother basically found him, woke him up, and I guess trying to get him to come back. And then Arya's like, well, why did she call me? Basically to see if you were, to prove that you were a liar, to tell, pretty much to disprove to Ezra. Excuse me. Cece calls for Arya for photography sale, and basically Cece's telling Arya that the guy or female that she hired is basically a phone photographer. Yeah. And that he's basically taking photos with his phone. Then Han and Caleb talk. They're arguing about the whole father thing. He doesn't want to deal with it. He was like, basically, you go over there. And then they're talking about. Hannah was like, well, I didn't want you in my business with the whole thing with A, hunting down A. And he was like, oh, I did that out of love and concern. And I was like, I'm looking at Caleb. I'm like, what the hell you think she doing? But he was like, well, if you wanna want this so bad, you go over there and deal with it. And then he leaves. Hannah and her mom talk about the father's day and whatever. Jason was sitting in one class and Emily talks about the whole Ali, CC, and Wilden thing. Jason tells Emily that he called Wilden, he didn't answer, and that basically Wilden will talk soon. Hopefully soon, because I want to know what he had to do with it. Melissa's back, Ren's back. Melissa's basically talking to Spencer. Spencer's not even paying her no type of mind. Ren's back. Ren is talking to Melissa for a little bit, and then talking to Spencer about why he's here. And Mona put it all together. Not Mona. Spencer puts it all together and figures out that Mona called. And Ren was like, oh, Mona called and told me to talk to you because of your spiral that you're going through, and that you're aggressive and that you're breaking down. She would know. Crazy bitch. So, in her own Spencer way, Spencer uses her charm, and basically, we all know Ren still has phones for Spencer. We all know that. She convinces him to go to a movie, go out to eat, and is where the Decathlon is. Yeah. Or whatever quiz thing they're doing is where it's at. And there you go. They leave for that. Caleb and Han are sitting in the coffee shop waiting for Jamie, his uncle. He doesn't show up for a little bit, and then it goes to where CC, Arya, and Wes are. CC basically likes how Wes and Arya got like this chemistry, and she basically conceives like, oh, you have two for one, so you have Ezra and Wes. Lucky girl. No, she likes. I already sensed that Arya liked Wes, but we kind of know that she loves Ezra, but because Ezra's not here to show her attention in the void, move to the next big thing, right? Let's see. Him and Jason goes to the house, and there's a whole bunch of whiskey bottles. A texts Emily to say, oh, that you need to tell Jason that he needs to save some of them because he's gonna need it. She's looking around for A. Then I know they go to the father's office or somewhere where there's a whole bunch of boxes in an elevator. Spence and Ren are in the car, they're talking, and he's basically wondering how far is it till they get to the place. She's planning something in that crazy little mind of hers right now, and he's not even paying attention to it. You're supposed to be a doctor. You should know little bits of crazy. You dealt with Mona. So Jason and Emily, they find the pic. Wilden's there with Allie, and so is Cece. So Emily basically found out that Cece lied, knowing who Wilden is, and then Jason has a flashback. He was drunk, had a little hangover, drinking out of the hose. He thinks he sees Allie, but it's really Cece and Melissa talking. Then he passes out. Okay. Then it heads back to Spencer. Spencer basically tells Ren to go ahead and find just a table. She leaves. Andrew sees her. Was like, what are you doing here? And then I guess some teacher sees her, and she passed all that and was like, wanted to wish Mona luck. Then she confronted Mona about telling Ren to come, and I was like, oh, the good doctor, and all this, like, you know why you. And then attacked the bitch. And I was happy to see that. I was like, yes, get that bitch. Choke the shit out of her. Thank you. Which she did. I was like, you should have punched her. You should have slapped her or something else besides choking her. But that's me. I would have done that. But it's the family show, choking slap. Andrew and Ren take her off, and then the teacher and Andrew was comforting Mona, and then Mona was like, oh, she snapped. No, bitch, you caused her to snap. What? Anyway. Ooh, 13 minutes, okay. Where was I? Okay. Wes and Arya in the area where Cece left them, and Wes basically lied to Arya saying that he was going to a friend's house, but really he was sleeping in the back of his car. Why lie? Just tell the truth. They spilled the drink. Cece calls Arya, basically her lying ass tell Arya that her car is told that she's sitting right in her car. Like, why lie? But she's over there with somebody. She's in some area with somebody. I don't know who she with, but she's in her own car, lying to Arya, saying that her car got towed. Hannah and Caleb are sitting in the church, waiting for everybody. Hannah's mom comes in, tells them both they're gonna go celebrate, and that basically Jamie, Caleb's father, now has the job. They all leave. Han goes to donate $5 with dice on them. Somebody in the comments or hit me up on my Facebook when I put all the links down there. Tell me what those dice are for, because I never noticed them before. Yeah. Anne and Jason, they're about to leave the office. They go to the elevator, and it gets stuck. Jason opens the elevator. Emily is able to jump out after she freaks out. Then it closes. The elevator falls down quickly. Basically, can almost kill Jason, but it didn't. He ends up in the hospital. And Arya and Wes talk in her room. They basically, I noticed that they have a lot in common. And then they kiss, and then they act awkward, and then he leaves. I know Ren and Spencer were in the car coming back to the house. Ren answers Spencer's phone, talks to Melissa because Spencer didn't want to talk. Hannah and everybody was back at the house. Hannah's mother couldn't pay for the pizza, so Caleb did, and that's when Hannah noticed her $5 bill that had the dice on it. It was in Jamie's pocket. Now, she realizes that Jamie did say he went to jail for petty theft.